all around. Kirk Cousins probably the biggest after months of speculation as to where he'd end up. The former Washington quarterback landed in Minnesota. Cousins reportedly will sign a 3-year, $84 million guaranteed contract with the Vikings. This would make Cousins the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Coach, I'll start with you. Did Kirk Cousins make the right call choosing Minnesota?
He absolutely made the right call in the sense that he got everything that he wanted. To get a 3-year guaranteed deal, to become the highest paid quarterback in the league, and then to be able to go to a team like Minnesota with such a good defense, with an infrastructure like they have in place that's close to getting over the edge. Now, with that contract comes extreme expectations. And he's going to have to go and improve that he's worth that money. He's going to have to go and improve that he can change that franchise in the sense of take that next step forward. And he's going to have to do it over a sustained period of time. There's a lot going or riding on his decision here.
And when you say he's going to have to go out there and prove it, for Kirk, and I mean this is just the deal you make as a high-paid pro athlete, especially at that position, we know he can do it in the regular season. His regular season numbers last 3 years, as far as 4,000 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, short list of guys have done it in 3 straight years. But there hasn't been to the playoffs, hasn't had a chance of postseason success, and we just saw Minnesota. They can go 13-3 with Case Keenum at quarterback. They can start out 5-0 with Sam Bradford at quarterback. They can get to the playoffs with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback when he was in that was his year 2 for Teddy. So for Kirk, all of this, we're going to determine was this a good move or a bad move, almost irrespective of the regular season and what they do for a month in January, right? For a team that good and for a player at that position, that's how, whether it's fair or not, that's how he'll evaluate this.
I think there's a number of things, excuse me, Coach, I think there's a number of things he'll be evaluated. One will be the play, but when you talk about is there going to be a paradigm shift as far as the players, I think that Kirk will be part. I remember when Reggie White, when we got granted free agency, total free agency, and Reggie White was the person who they put on the lawsuit against the league that led to the league that we have now. So I think that Reggie White, we knew him as the Minister of Defense. We know him from starting there in Philadelphia. We knew him, he resurrected the Green Bay franchise. So there was a number of things that he was known for. The number one thing in Minnesota, this is the most excitement, they've been there over their quarterback since Brett Favre came there and took them to the NFC Championship, which they lost to New Orleans. So I think that Kirk Cousins made the right decision. I believe he went to the right team. I believe the team got the terms on a good deal. As far as it's a short deal, it's 3 years. 3 years in the NFL, man, that is not a long time when you talk about that type of money. And Kirk does not have the pressure of every game he's got to back up 40 times and throw the ball. And the Vikings have a tremendous advantage now because I know what they've game planned for was we got a great defense. We got great special teams. Our quarterback can't lose this game for us. Now, there is not a game that they go into and they have that in the back of their mind. Wow, our quarterback can't do it. Their quarterback becomes a focal point of their offense, and we don't have to, just like Drew Brees now in New Orleans, because their running game, they don't have to have him win the game every week. But when you get in the critical situations, you get in the fourth quarter, you know you have a guy who's a pure passer, and I believe that the Vikings, that is the reason why this is such a great deal for them.
What you look at in the short term is it really doesn't affect the structure of the team. So this year, it's fine. To me, it's in years 2 and 3, when you've got that type of commitment financially to a quarterback, Minnesota's going to have to make decisions on a bunch of other young players whose contracts are coming up. And they've done such a great job of being able to spread those resources out and build a complete team and not have that quarterback position set. So can Kirk offset the dollars that's being spent off him and the sacrifices they're going to have to make in other areas of the team?
The names specifically that Coach is alluding to is after this year, the following guys are free agents: Anthony Barr, Sharif Floyd, Eric Kendrick, Stephon Diggs. Those are all guys they drafted. Those are all guys 25 years or younger. Those are all guys that are key components of this football team. You're not going to be able to keep all of those guys when you're paying your quarterback $27 million. One thing you mentioned, CC, that I don't think I agree with, which is that it's a good deal for the Vikings that this is a short deal. Because I think the Vikings would have preferred 5 years, $27 million a year, with the $84 million guarantee.
You can't get that. You can't get less money in a longer deal. If you go 5 years, you got to go to $30 million. That's the way the economics work.
Well,
the longer the deal, the more you're going to get per year.
All right. The point,
no one's gonna give you a $27 million salary, and I'm getting 28 for 3 years.
Well, I'm sorry. I meant 28. I meant the same number. I thought I was getting 27 a year this year. I misquoted the number. My point is the $84 million guaranteed. If the Vikings could have gotten that with more years tacked on at the end that essentially become team options, that's more beneficial to them than the situation they have now, which is at the end of these 3 years, Coach, they can't franchise him. Because that would be his third franchise tag. It'd be $40+ million. He will get to hit free agency again. They don't have those non-guaranteed years on the back end, which is why I think the players thought this was such a good deal. Like this
is a great deal for the player. He gets all of his money guaranteed, so that there's really no option for the team. And then in 3 years, he gets to hit another home run, take another bite of the apple. Now, typically those contracts are 5 years, and you can get the same amount of money guaranteed in the first 3 years.
That's what I'm talking about.
But it's spread out longer, and the team still has some leverage. And look, you can build different things into it, but that's how it was. So for him to get 3 years guaranteed, be able to take a second bite of the apple here after that point.
Also, in 3 years, I can guarantee the salary cap will be $200 million. So how much are now? If you're paying a guy $28 million, the salary cap's $200 million. I mean, I think that's the right percentage of the cap that you want to give your quarterback when the salary cap is $200 million.
Go ahead.
Well, here's the other thing is, if this doesn't work out, it won't matter because the head coach will be gone and the GM will be gone. So this 3 years is either going to work out great and they're going to want to extend him and he's going to be the Minnesota Vikings quarterback for a long time, or after 3 years, the head coach will be gone, the GM will be gone, and they'll be looking for a new quarterback anyways.
Coach, how much pressure is on Kirk Cousins now? This is a team that was one game away from going to the Super Bowl. And here's a guy that everyone's like, well, his numbers are fantastic. I mean, if Case Keenum was here, there's no pressure on him. He does what he did last year or thereabouts, and they're okay. But now here comes this guy who it's going to be like Super Bowl or bust, it seemingly, for this team next year.
Yeah, expectations are real. And that pressure of the expectations can significantly weigh on a player. And a lot of times, players will sign a big contract and they try to do more than what they should do because they feel like they have to honor that contract. They've got to justify that contract. And a lot of times, as a coach or as a person in the front office, you got to say, no, just do what you did. We paid for that person. Don't press through this because now you're making mistakes that you didn't make in the past. And there's tremendous pressure on him. He's got a really good football team that's won a lot of games. He's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL right now. He's got a groundbreaking contract. Yeah, you better show up.
What I will say is I think Cousins is used to playing under pressure, even though he hasn't played in playoff games, because he was playing for a new contract each of the last 3 years. He's playing on his rookie deal. Do we want to keep you? We're going to franchise you. All right, I go out and play well. We're going to franchise you again. All right, I go out and play well. Like each of the last 3 years, he was playing for this opportunity. So he does have, while he doesn't maybe have the team-wide expectations the Vikings have, individually, he's been playing, I believe, under tremendous pressure each of the last 3 seasons.
Since he came into the league. What about the Washington Redskins traded the whole draft, basically, for RG3.
Yes.
He was drafted behind RG3. So there hasn't been a year that Kirk hasn't been under tremendous amount of pressure. And let me know where you can play in the league as a quarterback, and there's no pressure. Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, Dallas, Minnesota.
The Jets.
There's pressure everywhere.
I'm not bashing the Jets. I actually really do root for the Jets.
Clearly.
Coach, check out my Twitter feed. Coach, we'll see you a little bit later in the show. Don't go anywhere, though, unless the storm's coming.